All right. In my last video, I said there's enough reasons to hate Hasan Piker. Talking about Collargate. That was my first video on it after I saw the first clip about it. And I said I wasn't sure what was going on. Changed my mind after a lot of things came out, but this just creme de la creme.
But the third group of people are the ones who are like, look at this clip, look at that clip, look at this clip. Like, it's obvious he's moving his arms around. Like, he's fucking constantly in a state of zapping. And they've moved away from the initial conversation, which was that, like, she didn't even have that collar on to begin with. Kaya, please.
I didn't see this part of this. They just added it in there. Clipped it together. Nicely done.
Stop.
Piece of shit.
Jesus Christ, what are you doing? And the only reason why I showed the collar was because people were clipping other instances. First of all, are any of the collars illegal? No. Even in the maximalist position.
It's not about illegal. It's about you being a scumbag.
Even if what
Okay, I'm going to clarify something to a lot of people here. He treats this dog like a BDSM submissive, but with less aftercare. What that means is, like, the bed with the collar on it, things like that, the stay in one place, and the indignation should the dog dare to be a dog for 5 seconds. He treats this dog like he would be someone who has agreed to a relationship with where to get gratification, two people, one that likes to be subdued and one that likes to do the subbing or the submitting, have agreed in personal Congress to deal with this. That's not how dogs work, bro. There's no safe word for a puppy and for a doggo. Like, you can't confine a big dog to a bed like that. I don't care how many of your friends that back you up on your streams, you've confined to beds on chains like you're some kind of like scrawny pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas Jabba the Hutt while you have their collars you're yanking. It's not the same with doggos, man. At least your friends can sell themselves for whatever clout they're doing. And I don't know if it's a sexual thing with them, but with the dog, look, the emotional context for Hasan is clearly there. His need for power and control. The guy, seriously, from everything I've seen, needs some absolute help at very best. At very worst, a wood chipper might help. I'm not saying put him in a wood chipper. I'm just saying that's just the kind of people that do stuff like this. They call for death of the people that disagree with them all the time. They try to get hits taken out on U.S. senators. They try to make people listen to terrorists and infiltrate the minds of the youth who watch their live streams, that kind of thing. And then they abuse animals. And it's like, okay, well, now more people are on board with the problem. That's my point from the last video is, but the one thing I was wrong about was you can never have enough reasons to hate Hasan Piker. He is clearly not a good person. The way that dog acts around him is going to be loving for the most part. That is not a happy looking dog. And if he was so good at training, and if he's put all this time and effort into training, and he leaves for a little bit and comes back, and suddenly the dog isn't still trained, you're not training your dog. You're failing at BDSM, bro. That dog checked out of it a long time ago. If a sub feels like you're going to treat them too aggressively for too long without having any aftercare or taking care of their emotions and feelings, they're going to bounce out too. I'm not saying it's a psychosexual relationship with Hasan and this dog. I think it's just Hasan over everything all the time in general. He is an arrogant, nepo piece. of human trash. And that is not just a hot take. I'm Mood Juice Magic. I love you in the face, and this guy is. I was just wrong about the part where you didn't have enough reasons. You had enough reasons to hate him. I was just trying to be polite and give the benefit of the doubt. I don't know why I was trying to do that. It's obvious what happens in this relationship with the dog. And then, quiet down, dog. No, you can't have water, dog. No, it's a puppy. It's a dog fence. It just lets the dog out. And then he did a video saying, no, for a stream. The caller was never on? Bro, first, it doesn't shock. Then you had shock callers in the past. And just the constant stream of back and forth. If this guy was in front of a jury, the conviction rate would be 100%. 100% of the time. And then you have his friends out there talking like this and saying, oh, yeah, no, and backpedaling for him and whatnot. Is he really worth your time that much, boys and girls? Is this piece of shit really worth your time that much? That you would dedicate your own character and personality and tie yourself in with him? I know there's a bunch of streamers that I've never heard of until all of this broke out that are just going to bat for him. And a lot of them seem like they're really cool people who normally wouldn't stand up for this type of thing. But I'm going to tell you a couple stories from real life here. I have two friends that I was very close with, separate times. One I grew up with just in the neighborhood, so we were close in the neighborhood wise. And we would always get along. He was kind of he was not the greatest guy, but you would never expect him to do something super terrible. Maybe deal some drugs or something like that. And then there was another guy who I went to church with who seemed like, there was something off about him, but you never could quite figure out what it was. It just seemed like he was a little weird. Both of those people turned out to be chomos. So they touched kids, both of them. They both ended up in prison, both pled guilty. Immediately upon hearing that, yeah, no, never cut them off completely. There's no reason for me ever associate with that individual ever again if they're doing something this heinous. If you have someone like I can't remember the gal's name who's part of his little group here. I think she's dating or married to one of the other weirdos that's involved. She was like in a thing with the phase group people, and she just straight up threw his ass under the bus. But then she was making excuses for him again. And then she's on a podcast with him. I guess they do a podcast together. And she's like, oh, if I knew you were doing this, I would do this to you. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't, because you're obedient. You're an obedient, good little girl, is probably what he tells her all the time. Again, this guy is like reading from a fucked up BDSM handbook on how to do this. How do I know about all that stuff? Don't ask, don't tell. I'm Mood Juice Magic. I love you in the face, and I'm not going to watch the rest of this because I'm getting a migraine just thinking about this asshat. And I hope I don't have to make any more of these videos again. There's plenty of guys for that. They're doing a great ass job. And so keep up the good work, fellas. Let's shut this Goomba down. And let's just go back to playing video games or talking about other things. But I do believe in the freekya movement. Hell yeah. This guy shouldn't be allowed to own dogs, let alone other human beings. He's like a weird ass Oprah.